Breaking news, we have a new interview coming in from Noah himself from the Bible. Hello, my name is Augustine Cameron Benjamin Constantine III, and this is this week's issue of The News. Welcome everybody, and today we have an interview with Noah himself from the Bible. How are you doing today, sir?
Oh, yes, thank you for having me. I'm doing great. How about you?
Oh yes, that's great. So today, we have some questions from you, the viewers, about your experiences with a covenant with God. Now, could you please describe a covenant for me?
Oh yeah, I get this question all the time. A covenant is a promise, but it's a much stronger promise. It's like a blood oath. It binds people together. It is really amazing. In Genesis 6:18, it actually talks about how God made a covenant about how he would protect us on the ark.
Huh, interesting. Now, could you please tell me your role in your covenant with God?
My role in it? Well, my role in the ark was basically just taking care of it. And my role in the covenant was to be fruitful and increase in numbers, as it says in Genesis 9:1. It says to be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth with all of my descendants.
That seems like a pretty hard covenant to complete. How did you complete this?
Completing my assignment? People always ask me, why did you spend 120 years doing this? Which is a great question, because that's a very long time to do something you don't even know exists, but deep in my heart I know it exists, and I would go much longer than 120 years to do this. It was difficult, but in 120 years I built an ark with my family.
Did your accomplishment help people?
Did it help people? Yes, I mean, humanity was wiped out. The whole reason we're still here today is because of me trusting in God and spending that many years building this ark.
Now, who do you believe understood the purpose that God had for this task the best?
Who understood God's purpose best? I mean, I guess the only one that really knows his end plan is him and Jesus, which didn't come till later, of course. But I could have known what his plan was for me, but his overall plan, no one could ever guess what he knows what is going to happen every second, but I could have never known. So I'm guessing the only person that knew best was God himself.
What makes them different from other men of God? Like, is there a distinct difference between them and some other godly person, or could just any normal Joe do this?
What makes me different from other men? I mean, during that time, there was a lot of very wicked people. And I guess I was the only one that wasn't wicked. So he saw that I would be most effective because I was the only non-wicked person during that time. We were the only family that trusted in God.
Interesting you bring that up. Could this have been more effective if done by a different person?
I mean, I'm sure if he could have probably found another person, maybe, but then again, in the Bible it says that the whole world was wicked. Yeah, there's one family, my family, that just wasn't wicked and trusted him through and through. So I don't know if there was someone who could have done it more effectively.
Overall, who made the most impact on this covenant?
Who had the overall most impact? Well, I think it all depends on perspective, because the impact that God had on the world during that time, about how, in Genesis 9:13, how he talked about the rainbow, and even in Genesis 11, how he said 9:11, he talked about how he never ever would ever destroy the world again, like what he did. And through the rainbow, it's through the rainbow that he made that whole sacrifice in those few verses. And so it's all about perspective, did he have the bigger impact? Because of course, he impacts the world every day, he's God, but this isn't the world, this is the covenant. And the covenant with me, I feel like if I might have had the biggest impact because I built the ark, and I stayed with him through 120 years. But it's all about perspective.
And for our final question from the viewers, and possibly the hardest one, who resembles Christ more in their mission?
I think the fact that I was the only one on earth who trusted in God, and the fact that just like how Jesus went through with the cross, even though he said he didn't want to, and I know I had doubts throughout those whole 120 years about this ark. I guess I resemble Christ the most.
Thank you. Now, this was a great interview. I learned a ton. Thank you for coming on my show. Now, would you have any final remarks to tell the viewers before we wrap this up?
Yes, I do have a few closing remarks, but not for you, actually for the viewers. In Genesis, I have my notes right here. In Genesis 9:9, it talks about how he not only establishes his covenant through me, but through all of my descendants, which is you. God has a personal covenant with you. He trusts you as long as you trust him. So I just wanted to thank you for so much for having me on the show to be able to talk about my experiences. And also, I would like to talk about how he gave the rainbow and gave the rainbow.
I thought it was great. I really appreciated it. All right, now get out.